Jeffrey Pribble, a man convicted of capital murder, claims his innocence and points to suppressed evidence and manipulated informant testimony as factors in his conviction. Kelly Sigler, a prosecutor renowned for her dramatic courtroom presentations and her role on the true crime show Cold Justice, claims she's prosecuted the right man. This two-part series will make you question the reliability of circumstantial evidence and the ethics of prosecution.
If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Welcome into the new and improved EscapePod, everybody. It's not a new room. We just needed different chairs and a little different
Well, we
setup.
never planned on being on video for
Correct.
all y'all who listen to your podcasts on video. We appreciate you. It's just weird to me.
Yeah.
So we were just in a office doing our
Yep.
thing, and now we're having to evolve a little bit. So we've done that, and
Yeah.
so that's what I'm escaping is the old studio. This is much nicer. It's definitely got a more relaxed vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chair
I
is more
like it.
comfortable.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that. Listen, I am escaping bickering children. Sometimes it's kind of nice to be at work. Yeah.
Yeah.
People who work at home, I'm like, that's great. Do your kids not fight? Because my kids do. They're in a phase, man.
It's summer.
Before summer officially started, like those last few days of school, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. But I had all these people who were like, oh, I just can't wait for summer. Oh, I just can't wait for summer vacation. And I would have this moment every time, really? Because
Really?
they just have not been getting along very well. And individually, they're great kids. But when they're together, they just fight a lot.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it's typical stuff, and nobody's been to the hospital because of it, or there's no lasting damage. I don't think that's been
If we run a
caused.
police report.
No,
We're okay. All right.
none of that. But sometimes being, I don't want to say locked in an office, like I'm locked in an office here, but being
Sequestered
at an
in
office
Yeah.
on this campus. It's nice. It
is
is a little bit
lovely.
of an escape, and so is this today. So, tell us more about this topic.
Well, this case caught my eye because there are, it's all in how you tell the story, right? Mm-hmm. So this really drives home the heavy lift that jurors have
Oh yeah.
in comprehending the game that's being played, because both sides want to win. And I know that, our justice system is founded on everybody just needs quality representation.
Yeah.
For whatever the truth is.
Correct.
But egos get involved and humans get involved, and there's this need to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some interesting things that come out of this case, and it's going to lead us to look kind of at both sides. Your mind, like-minded, may go back where, of course he's guilty. Maybe he's not guilty. Maybe, I don't know what's happening. It's like a ping pong game.
Okay.
He's convinced he's innocent. She's convinced he's guilty. And I don't know
You don't know.
that he is. Yeah, it's
Really?
it's really interesting. There's some very compelling evidence that has come out from my layman's point of view that
Okay.
would make me, if I had the authority to retry this case in Houston, to retry the case. But I don't get to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So are you
I think
ready?
this is interesting coming from you as the wife of a law enforcement officer, because I think naturally you, and I probably do too, just trend toward if they're charging them, there's some reason, right?
I have listened to too many cases where no.
Right? I mean,
Or you get smaller departments where they might know a couple things in theory, but they really don't get to practice protecting evidence at a crime scene, knowing what to protect. People are trampling all over it. It destroys evidence. There's a little bit of that in here. A little bit of like the lead investigator just saying, and I'll get to it in more detail, but just saying, nope, pretty sure that's the guy. I'm just going to stop looking. Not look at the whole entirety of the thing.
Yeah.
And anybody who has any information about this situation, just, no, I think I'm good. I've put in some effort here and I'm good. So I don't know. There's just a lot of issues, and we never want an innocent person to be stuck behind bars. Can you freaking imagine?
No.
You're innocent. You haven't done what you're being accused of, and your whole life is taken away. Your freedom has been taken away. And it's just, again, jurors have a very heavy lift. But I think this will illustrate that prosecution has an even heavier lift of getting it right.
Yeah.
Not
just
trying to win a case.
Correct.
So
I would agree.
This one's sorry. I'm gonna throw some. Yeah.
You're fine.
I couldn't get headphones on today because I have a bun on top of my head and it just wasn't working. So
You're good.
Reverberate.
Take it away.
All right. Here we go.
I'm literally going to sit back and listen.
Okay. Do you have your
my
pillow?
nice
There's
comfy
a pillow.
chair? I know. I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good without
Okay.
the pillow.
Okay. So on the fateful day of April 24th, 1999, man by the name of Steve Herrera was found dead in his Houston, Texas home, having been shot once in the base of the skull. His fiancée, Nilda Tirado, was found deceased on the couch, also killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. But in her case, she was wearing only a T-shirt, and her body had been covered in some type of accelerant and had been badly burned.
Ew.
Ew.
There goes my relaxing posture.
Sorry, yeah, you moved up real quick on that one. And it was the soot from the fire spreading throughout the house that killed their 3 sleeping daughters.
Oh.
So, and investigators at the scene believed that Nilda had been sexually assaulted and that whoever assaulted her also set her body on fire to destroy evidence.
Sure.
Okay. So investigators begin doing their investigative thing, and they learn that 28-year-old Ronald Jeffrey Pribble Jr., who goes by Jeff, had also been over at the Herrera's house that night playing pool and drinking. So you see, Jeff and Steve, the deceased, the first body they found, were close. They were literal partners in crime. They were longtime friends. They'd robbed multiple banks together. They dealt drugs together. Like, these two were just tight.
Oh, okay.
And they weren't just robbing banks and dealing drugs just to do it. They had this big dream of trying to save up enough money to open a business. But it was a topless bar. But they had goals. They had goals, okay? So topless bar. And so they still...
Which, to be fair, probably make a lot of money.
Probably do if they wanted to go into business.
Okay.
So they stole approximately $46,000 from 6 different banks and were rumored to have stashed around $250,000 safely away at Steve's house. Yeah. And I'm guessing, because it's drug money, they're not going to have it in a bank, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that they kept it at Steve's house because Jeff was back living with his parents. So he's 28, yes. He has a little boy. He and his little boy are living back with his parents after his discharge from the Marines.
Okay.
Okay. So he's in this transitional period in his life and making some really not great choices with all the stuff, all the friends and the stuff. But he has goals, so that's good. Goals are good.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it should be pretty simple. Because of the fire, investigators figured that there would be easily detectable evidence on anyone involved if they'd in fact been involved. Because of how quickly everything spread, the type of accelerant, there's always that like residue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So because he was the one they go to first, he would smell like smoke at the very least, which he did not. Not only that, his clothing and shoes from the night of the fire were tested for blood and like hair and things from the gunshots, results, or soot, accelerants from setting the fire. All of it came back negative.
Okay.
They did the same thing for the clothing he was wearing when they detained him. All were negative. Okay. Other evidence included some semen found in Nilda's mouth. I'm going to leave you with that for a second. Now
Please don't.
I will. come back to that. So let's shift gears for a bit and assess the crime scene at the Herrera home. So I've already talked about the victims and what killed them, but the house itself is interesting because it was very neat. It was ordered. There was no evidence of forced entry or a robbery. In fact, Herrera's wallet was still on him full of cash. Gunshot wound to the back of the head, wallet still on him. There were no weapons or shell casings found. They gathered bottles and cans from the party the night before, which I'll get to, but they neglected to preserve the bloodstains on the wall and on the laundry equipment where Steve's body was found.
Okay.
So back to that. This is Houston, though. They should know better. No, they definitely did not. And I think it's because it's like, well, there was only this one guy. But
it sounds very like a professional hit. Like there's no shell casings.
Back to the head, yeah.
And that.
And even the location to me sounds, yeah.
They're trying to not leave.
Right.
Yeah, they're trying very hard to not leave evidence behind.
Right.
Yeah.
It also appears as if the investigation was a little uninspiring, meaning that the lead detective, as I alluded to earlier, Curtis Brown, simply talked to the 4 people the day the bodies were discovered who'd been with Steve the day before. So among them were Edward Herrera, this was Stephen's brother, and Victor Martinez, his brother-in-law. And these two led the detective to Jeff, saying that he'd been friends with Steve since grade school. So that's how they got to Jeff.
Okay.
And that's where the investigation stopped. These men had hung out together at different parts of the night of the murders, playing pool, drinking, doing drugs together. Jeff was the last one with Steve in the garage, according to the other men. But they also said nothing seemed off or indicative of a conflict or anything between Steve and Jeff. Nothing was up.
Okay.
So when they went to speak with Jeff, he appeared to be genuinely shocked by the news of the murders. Mm-hmm. He was willing to go with them to give a statement. His story aligned with the other men's stories. They played pool, drank, did drugs into the wee hours of the morning until Nilda came to the garage and kind of gave her fiancé Steve one of those looks, like it's time to shut it down.
Yeah.
And so Steve took Jeff home around 4 a.m. The deputies believed Jeff to be telling the truth. Still, due diligence, they asked him to take a polygraph, and he agreed. Polygraph, however, detected some deception. So after being told this, Jeff said, well, he and Nilda had been fooling around behind Steve's back for a while. So they weren't that.
There's a twist.
Yeah. And so that explained the semen in her mouth potentially. And he said that the semen in question had been deposited during consensual sex 3 days before the murders. 3 days. He said he hadn't mentioned it because he didn't want to stain Nilda's reputation. He also willingly provided a DNA sample.
Okay.
So he's acting as if he has nothing to hide.
Okay.
You look like you're having some thoughts.
Well, I'm actually thinking about the investigators who at some point, not necessarily these investigators, but in the forensic world, have to determine how long certain substances stay in certain places.
I will get to that.
I would never, I think that would be the beginning and the end of investigating for me. Be like, we're talking about
Game
what?
over.
No, we're not. I'm done.
Yeah, I will get to that actually. So HPD didn't have much but circumstantial evidence, and so this lack of evidence meant they did not have enough to charge Jeff with the murders, and the case grew cold. However, during the interrogation, he admitted to the string of bank robberies when putting forth the theory that whoever murdered his friend and his family must have been after that $250,000. Okay, so he's kind of like outed himself because he's like, are they looking at me for this? This has to be why they did it. So they couldn't get him on the capital murder, but they did get him for the bank robbery. So Jeff goes to prison for a 2-year sentence.
Okay.
So he's like, yep, I did it. It was me. Let's go. But they also never found that money.
Oh.
Yeah. Fast forward to 2001. Kelly Sigler enters the scene from the DA's office. She looks at this cold case. She questions Jeff in prison, and then based on only that conversation, brings forward capital murder charges for the April 1999 murders.
Oh, my.
Yeah. The evidence presented at the capital murder trial consisted of the following. 1, another inmate at Beaumont, where Jeff was imprisoned, by the name of Michael Beckham, who was a convicted murderer, by the way, testified that Jeff had confessed to him in prison.
Okay.
Number 2, the semen discovered in Nilda's mouth during the autopsy, despite the fact that Jeff had already told them about their affair. But even before this was pursued as a cold case, Jeff says that he and Nilda messed around on occasion, but her friends told investigators no way that was true, that Jeff creeped her out, that she would make comments that Jeff creeped her out. She could have been throwing them off of the trail.
Yeah.
Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So we don't know. She didn't like it when he was at her house, her friend said. And number 3, there was also the alleged $250,000, which was never found. So that sure could look like a motive for whomever. And right now, Kelly's got Jeff in her crosshairs, right?
Okay.
And as a reminder, investigators found no physical evidence on Jeff at all linking him to the murders or to the arson.
Okay.
Okay. And yet, I'll spare you all the details because that's not really the focus of the story.
Okay.
He was ultimately sentenced to death in 2002 for capital murder.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he starts submitting a bunch of appeals because he's fighting for his life. So he's submitting appeals to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, trying to get someone to look at the evidence, or rather lack of evidence, and submitting a lot of his letters and appeals without the assistance of his attorney. Because kind of in those situations, you get what you pay for. And if you can't pay for a good attorney,
Yes.
it's unfortunate. He raised issues of insufficiency of evidence, DNA admissibility, and he questioned Beckham's credibility. In 2005, the TCCA affirmed the conviction and the death sentence, finding no reversible errors. So he keeps at it. He's innocent, and he's not going to give up. So he keeps filing habeas petitions. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Kind of. So it's it's a petition. It's a legal action that basically challenges the legality of them holding you.
Yeah.
Any detention, imprisonment, anything like that.
Okay.
So under Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, he's alleging ineffective assistance of counsel, which is kind of shows why he's doing things by himself, prosecutorial misconduct on the part of Kelly Sigler, and issues with Beckham's testimony, like, for example, was he incentivized by the prosecution to give this testimony, right? Which I will get to that later as well. And the state habeas court holds hearings, but again recommends denial of the petition. And then so the TCCA follows suit, ultimately denies the request around 2009. So he is stuck again. He keeps filing to the state, to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, and then even to the Supreme Court. They also denied the appeal, stating that Jeff had exhausted all legal remedies for his situation. But like, if he's innocent, if there's a chance,
Right.
I'm sorry, it shouldn't be 3 strikes, you're out. It should have been, you never should have been in there in the first place if he's innocent, right?
Right.
So, and here's where things take a very interesting turn. So he's still in prison. He's reached out to by a man named Hermio Herrero, who told him that a man by the last name of Walker, which is all we know at this time, admitted to someone while he's in prison that the informant ring Jeff was trying to expose had purposely singled Jeff out specifically to set him up in exchange for sentence reductions in their own cases. Okay, so Jeff thought this was it. Oh my gosh, I've got this guy. He found my smoking gun. Now I'm going to get out of here. So all he had to do was track down this Walker person, and who was in a different facility than Jeff was being held. And from my understanding, Jeff's attorney helped him, and they began sending letters to, the only thing they knew was that he was a black man with the last name of Walker. So they started sending letters to anybody that fit that description, to no avail. And then one fortuitous day, the Walker who'd been receiving these letters met another black man with the last name of Walker, Carl Walker, and went, you might be the guy. I'm getting these letters. And so he hands the letters over, and it was total happenstance. But Carl Walker says, yeah, this is me. He responds to Jeff's letters, talks to Jeff's attorneys, and they convinced him to testify. If that was, they could convince a judge to allow a retrial.
Okay.
So he's queued up. He's like, yep, you were done dirty, dude, and I'm gonna help you.
Isn't it interesting what a different world it's like its own little world.
Oh my God.
In prison.
Completely. Completely. So
It's like we're in our universe existing,
Yeah.
and they're in their own little,
I
like all the
this
things.
bubble better, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when moving for a retrial, Jeff's attorneys brought forward other allegations of misconduct against Kelly Sigler, including a ruling from a district judge in 2015 in the 2007 murder trial of David Temple. And they proved 36 instances of misconduct after he'd been convicted of killing his wife in 1999. And I will get to that case in part 2.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. So finally, in May of 2020, a federal judge weighs in on Jeff's case. He orders the state of Texas to either give Jeff a new trial within 180 days or they're going to have to release him.
Oh.
And the judge agreed with Jeff's claims that the state suppressed evidence in the original trial. And so how did the retrial go? 2022. Well, it was true that Sigler and her team had, in fact, suppressed evidence regarding jailhouse informants. It was also true there was a lack of physical evidence tying Jeff to the murders. So not only did she suppress the fact that she was working with the same prison informants in a totally different case and had enlisted these same people to help her extract a confession from Jeff in exchange for her help to reduce their sentences, she also did not disclose key evidence that confirmed, this is getting back to your semen question, that the semen found in Nilda's mouth could have been deposited up to 72 hours before the murder and fire. And remember, he told the investigators about the affair, that they'd had sex 3 days before the murders with no way of knowing that fact. He had no way of knowing that. And at the original trial, the prosecution kept asserting that there was no other possibility than the semen being deposited shortly before or immediately after she was killed.
Okay.
And Kelly had it in her own documentation, expert in her notes saying that, nope, up to 72 hours. So that's
Naughty.
not good.
That's not okay.
No. So
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
That's right. So additionally, the court found Walker's statements consisted almost entirely of hearsay and speculation and contained no direct evidence of conspiracy that Jeff was claiming.
Okay.
So Walker, he thought was a smoking gun, really didn't pan out for him.
Okay.
So Jeff's attorneys also informed the court that after Jeff was charged with murder, right after he was charged with capital murder by Sigler, Sigler moved Jeff from Beaumont Low to Beaumont Medium, which was where Nathan Foreman, who's a member of this snitch ring,
Okay.
was moved to the very same day. And this is when she'd been working with in a previous case.
Okay.
So they had a relationship. Okay. And this was so fortunate for Kelly, right? Not that she's pulling their own strings and then benefiting from pulling those strings. But the cooperating inmates in Hermio Herrero's case, which again, I'll touch on that in part 2, alongside Beckham and Walker. So these same guys, they befriended Jeff immediately. They staged photos with him to make it appear as if they were buddies to kind of increase their believability. And their plan allegedly was to grow close to Jeff and then contact Sigler to say, hey, he confessed to us. Now can you help us out? We'll tell you this if you help us with this other thing. And evidence was also provided that showed these guys, Foreman and Beckham, and their buddies had already been provided with the details of Jeff's case before they were even moved together. So they didn't learn this stuff from Jeff. So it's all very suspicious.
Yes, it is.
Very, very suspicious. So despite Beckham's history, remember, he's the guy who said Jeff confessed to me, and he's a convicted murderer. And he admitted to receiving benefits in exchange for his testimony. In this retrial, Jeff was once again sentenced to death. Essentially, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals threw out the lower court's ruling that would have freed Pribble in the event the state failed to retry him within that 180 days. In a 3-judge panel, just said, no, not enough credible evidence to overturn the original conviction. Ooh. Yeah. So it's hard to imagine a true convicted murderer, this Beckham character, being a credible witness, but it does demonstrate how very little evidence, like in this case, 0 evidence, needs to actually be presented to a jury or to judges, 3-judge panel, to convict someone of a very heinous crime. And according to the National Registry of Exonerations, 70% of homicide exonerations involved perjury or false accusation, and 71 involved official misconduct. A DPIC analysis, which is the Death Penalty Information Center, of death row exonerations from 2007 to 2017 found that false informant testimony and official misconduct were the leading causes of wrongful conviction and death sentences. And official misconduct was implicated in 82.4% of cases, and perjury or false accusation was involved in 76.5%. This is a huge problem.
It's crazy.
So
those are big percentages. Yeah.
Huge percentages. So have you ever heard of the true crime show called Justice?
Yes.
I think it's on Oxygen. Okay. It started in 2013. It's now in its 8th season, and Kelly is the star of that show.
Oh.
This is the prosecutor. So you may have seen her.
Okay.
Yeah. And this show is predicated on their team is called in to kind of hit the scene of a cold case, come into town, and bring it to justice within a week.
Oh, my.
That's what they do. So they've got all the resources to do this. There's a nonprofit news organization called The Intercept, which is dedicated to holding powerful accountable. Like, it's really cool. And they said it best, quote, Sigler had a nearly perfect conviction record and an evangelical fervor for solving cold cases using circumstantial evidence, end quote. And in part 2, we're going to cover some of the most compelling cases tied to these prosecutorial misconduct allegations against Kelly.
Huh.
Yeah. And then we'll tie it back to Jeff's case, because right now there's no resolution.
He's still on death row?
Yeah.
This is one of my issues with capital punishment, is that it, quite frankly, you know, in cases where like somebody pleads guilty, like I shared about the case here, crime was committed in 2000. We still have one of those. He was a young man when the crime was committed. He's like my age, and he's still on death row, and because he can appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal and appeal. And I know every state's different, but if he had just been given life in prison, I don't think we would see that many appeals. Like and every time, like, the family is brought back in. Now, I think in that case, the victim's family, they want to see him put to death. And so maybe they're like, that's fine, keep appealing, and you're going to stay on death row, and eventually it'll go through. So, you know, I won't speak for them, but I just, as like a general citizen, I'm thinking this is the crazy part, is that he did admit to his role in
and he's totally guilty. He just wants to live.
And the appeals just keep happening.
I know. Yeah. I wish, you'd think we'd have figured this out by now, but like, if there's a question, a prosecution, like if it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, like if there's any reasonable doubt, you can't convict somebody on, or especially sentence them to death.
Right.
I mean, at least overturn that part until you can sort out the rest.
Yeah. It is interesting that the punishment stays the same.
And I think I'll cover it in part 2, but a witness actually saw Herrera take Jeff home after 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
So he goes home to his parents, and then he sleeps, and then the next people he's talking to are the police that are saying, like, and she saw him come home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much that is like also circumstantial, but points to this isn't your guy. Mm-hmm. Also, where's the money?
Yeah. I think that's the part for me.
Because he didn't have it. Where's the money?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Somebody else knew about that money.
They had to have. Someone was talking. I mean, if they're drinking and doing drugs and partying all the time, you know, you bragging, got to beat my chest a little bit. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to open up a titty bar or whatever. And, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll come back and lighten things up. We'll be right back on the EscapePod. Need an early morning boost or midday pick-me-up? Check out the Homebrew Coffee Shop, a coffee shop with a cause in the heart of the One Heart campus. Homebrew is home to delicious coffee, sweet treats, breakfast, and lunch items, a great place to meet friends or host small group meetings. Homebrew, located at 201 Kansas City Street in Rapid City. Open Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Homebrew, where you'll find hope for a home in every cup. Welcome back into the EscapePod, everybody. The new and improved EscapePod, if you will. I'm Julie here with Charity, and that was a kind of depressing case, but very interesting how our legal system works or doesn't work sometimes.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It still works a lot better than a lot of other countries.
Perhaps.
I will maintain that.
It's very slow. And if it's slow and productive and spot on, that would be one thing.
Right.
But if it's dragged out and it's just
questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what are you escaping to?
I think I want a repeat of last night. So, we're having really warm, gorgeous weather, which is nice. Love it, love it, love it. So I get home. The moment I get home, I start like opening windows, even if it's this hot.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And my husband just gave me this look like, don't you dare. So I closed the sliding glass door and locked it. And I'm like, I'm going to trick him. Do you want to go for a walk? And he's like, sure. And I said, what if we because we live over by Cohort, not to triangulate my address or anything. I'm like, what if we stop at Cohort we'll go for a walk, stop it. So we did. And they had my favorite mead on tap.
Oh.
And also one of my close friends was there that I didn't expect to see. So ended up having a couple drinks after a really hot walk. It was a lovely night. I want to go do that again.
You're okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's what I'm going to escape to.
I think we get a 3-day weekend, and I've decided I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with 3-day weekends because do I love a shorter work week? Of course, most people do, but it means trying to get things done.
You're cramming more in.
Yeah. So I do have that, but just I probably will get to sleep in 2 days in a row. I mean, that's fun. I used to get to do that more often than I do now. So I think, just the little things. And same getting to see, I have a friend who's been out of town being treated for cancer, and they will get to come home for an extra day, and we'll get to see them. So that is that's a great escape. And I think it's an escape for them too.
Right.
One of the comments she made is that this is a very surreal world that we're in because everything they're doing is right about medical. I mean, it's just a whole medical village they're in.
I've spent time at Mayo, and it is its own world.
Right.
And it's huge, and it's like an international hub of, it's wild.
And while I think she's has the best attitude and I think is going to be just fine when all is said and done, but also, I think she's really happy that they were able to get in and get help there. But she does still say it's weird.
I'm sure,
It's kind of weird. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. This is a labor of love, if you will. We do this not just because we like to podcast, but in hopes of pouring some more resources into the nonprofit where we work, One Heart, here in Rapid City, South Dakota.
And it's definitely a lot because we like being on video.
No. Not really.
No.
I used to do it all the time, but once you don't do something for a while, it's hard to get back into it.
I've never enjoyed it. But we really are doing this because we're podcasting for a cause. This is really for a cause. It's more than a labor of love. I mean, it's really all we focus on all day. You can become a patron and help us do that at escapepod.live. Unlock some really fun.
Yeah.
And some really, what would you say? Not TV mature, but I mean, maybe TV mature, uncensored, more uncensored tales.
Just a couple of them. They're not all like that, but there were a few we couldn't put out to the general public.
One in there the other day that I listened to, and the headphone thing. I was cracking up. I'm like, I didn't know you did that. So
I forgot it was there, but I'm like, why do I have this labeled blooper? I mean, it's like 10 seconds of our life, but it is pretty funny.
It was funny. But you can help fund real life breakouts, help the people that we serve here at One Heart continue to transform their lives. And we see some amazing things every day. You, by listening and contributing, can help with that.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
And please download because that just goes farther. It boosts our numbers in all sorts of ways, and we really appreciate that.
I haven't said it in a while, but in the podcasting world,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many listeners or subscribers you have. It's downloads is how you get traction and generate, if you have this many downloads, then people who have advertising dollars say, oh, you're worth that investment, but only if you have downloads. So please download. Please. We're trying to bring in out-of-the-box type of revenue to support the work we do here, because the 150 guests we have on campus do not pay to be here. Yeah. We are supporting them as they work to get over that cliff of poverty and be self-sufficient in the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Please connect with us. You can do so at EscapePod.live. Follow us on our socials. Drop a note at justbecause@EscapePod.live, or send your wild escape stories to escapeartist@EscapePod.live.
So we're closing the hatch on this one, folks. And remember, trauma is inevitable, but how you grapple with it is optional.
So stay resilient.
And keep fighting. My God, Jeff Pribble, keep fighting.
And keep laughing. We'll see you next time.